This is kind of interesting. I actually had no idea about this. I mean, I guess something maybe I never thought about. Because they teach us a lot of U.S. history naturally in school, but I don't know if I remember this or if they mentioned that, right? Like when other countries actually recognized on a world platform the U.S., right? Kind of interesting. Although it's in the same neck of the woods, right? All within 6 years. And I guess everyone followed suit, probably within a decade or two of these. Although I'd bet a bunch of countries now might not recognize the United States. Hell, even Americans don't recognize it anymore. Can't believe South Sudan didn't recognize them until 2011? Wow, I did not know that. France and Spain always ready to piss Britain. Not as ready as Morocco, apparently. Didn't the United Kingdom recognize the U.S. in 1783 like Spain or Sweden? Treaty of Paris, yes, in late 1783. I can't recognize the United States now. It's gone crazy. There it is. I knew that was coming. These are European cakes. That's all this map is called, and I think this is kind of interesting. Victoria Sponge. What's that called? R cake? Or am I reading that wrong? Look at this. What looks the best? Some of these, I'm going to try and pick them out here. Some of these, when we go to the Euro store, I recognize they have like tons of different sections, and in this little section that has cakes, they have some, interesting cakes that I don't recognize from American stores, naturally. I'm assuming they're mostly Slavic cakes because, again, a lot of products in this store are from Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Croatia, Serbia, Russia, places like this, Ukraine. They definitely have these. I think they have something like this and this. Look at this, Tarta de Santiago, Tarta de Queso, Coco de San Juan, Casata. Wow. It's kind of cool seeing all the different styles. Look at this way up here. I can't even begin to pronounce that. Well, you got to let me know in the comments which of these is the best. Maybe some of you have had multiple of these. I would almost doubt any of you have had all of these. If you have, my goodness, you are a cake connoisseur. I think out of all these, I can safely say I've had tiramisu. Other than that, the rest of these, maybe not exactly. Or if I have, maybe I had them and I don't remember it. Well, sticking on food, might as well transition into cuisine of Europe. This is another map, and this one is pretty action-packed. I can't read through these, but you can kind of get the gist of it. Man, I think I've had a lot of these. Maybe not a lot, but at least some of them, American versions over here. Pierogi, Wiener Schnitzel, fondue. Definitely haven't had haggis because I learned in a video a long time ago. That is literally illegal in the U.S. Why? I can't remember, but I do remember it's illegal. Wonder if any of these are like illegal or like impossible to get in the U.S. I would probably imagine they are. Like a lot of these I've heard of and I'm very like interested in. Pizza and spaghetti. Of course they're on here, and I could safely say, of course I've had those. I think everyone has. But pizza and spaghetti literally from Italy, in Italy, in the fresh air in the hills around you. Well, that unfortunately I have not had, and I would love to because I'm pretty sure that spaghetti would hit different. Honestly, I haven't eaten much today, and this map is making me very hungry. Honestly, a lot of this looks really good. And I literally only have saltine crackers for a snack in this studio. So I'm going to move on. Damn whales. Yeah, that would make people all hot and bothered and uncomfortable over here in the U.S. UK's largest immigrant communities by region. It's all Poland and India. India favoring basically the eastern part of the UK and Poles in the West. I did not know that. I don't really study or know much about immigration in different countries other than like super locally over here in North America. But I guess I kind of knew about like, Indian culture and immigration in the UK just because, one of my favorite foods is like tikka masala, curries. A lot like Indian food I've eaten over here in the Chicago area has been incredible. There's a lot of it. and I love it. It's super good. And I actually learned that I think it's tikka masala comes from London when I thought it came from India. But I mean, of course, it comes from Indian recipes and food, but just in the UK. And I thought that was really interesting. So that kind of makes sense. I knew a little bit about that. Kind of looks like an ethnic map of the British Isles from circa 500 AD, except with the Celts substituted for Poles and Anglo-Saxons for Indians. Indo-Polaxons. Couples with 9 children or more per 100,000. Wow. Average 18 per 100,000. Dang. So you have a lot of zeros, but then in particular, what's going on in Northwest Germany? Right? Like that is a lot of children. Like, look at this, 170, 174, 143. I think one of these down here is over 200. I have 3, and I'm always worn out, and my wife too. I can't imagine having 9. And there's an actual breakdown of the cities or states or whatever you would call those. Yeah, 219, 174, 170, like, wow. What's going on in those specific cities? That's what I'm asking. Many evangelical churches whose members are of mostly Russian German descent. It's very interesting. They're not cities, but districts. This is another version of German ancestry in North America. Now, this includes Canada as well. And I've seen, maps like this before, although I will say I'm glad to see this for Wisconsin, which is right above where I am. I'm in Illinois, where my little magnifying cursor is. Right here in this purple, that is Wisconsin. And I tell you what, when you go to all these small towns in Wisconsin, it is like so German, like the architecture, the names, everything. It's really interesting. And I've always thought that. And the maps like this kind of confirm it, right? We're talking about more than 40%. I know Europeans might not agree because anywhere in the U.S. is not Europe. I get it. But I will say for the U.S. standards, when you drive through Wisconsin, it just feels European in a lot of different things. The food, the way the roads are, like a lot of different clues. It's kind of like, yeah, this place has a lot of European influence. This is a map of every city with over 100,000 people in Europe, and it's pretty even spread. Lots of, do you consider 100,000 people a big city? I don't know if I would consider it a big city, but definitely at least a medium-sized city. It's a place with some life to it and some energy, right? I mean, that's a lot of people. And generally, if it's 100,000 people in a city, the metro area is going to be even bigger. So it's going to feel like there's a lot of people around. I'm amazed by how many are in the UK, like concentrated, right? We're talking about an island. And look at all the crazy stuff going on. Also, right here, this hotspot, what looks to be, I believe, Belgium and the Netherlands. Is that right? Of course, the bigger, darker circles are, bigger populations. And there are some mega populations. I'll have to look up like famous cities in Europe, how big they actually are, because that's one thing I've always been interested over here, and I never have looked at over there. Big cities. I'm talking about like here. You would think of New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, Dallas. They're big cities, but are they even as big European cities? I know they're not as big as like Asian cities. Pretty sure like Tokyo and Shanghai and these places have a lot more population than Chicago. Tobacco use by country can see a heavy concentration. The darker colors, the more tobacco use. Kind of not shocking because I've learned this over time. I just wonder, it's just kind of random. It's not like a good or bad thing. I just wonder why, right? Tobacco use kind of leading the way in Europe as a whole. And then randomly northern Canada, Greenland, and India coming in with high numbers as well. What would a federal EU look like that also adopts an American-style electoral college? That's interesting. This might be more relevant and more interesting to you if you live in Europe, but kind of interesting to see that breakdown. The electoral college thing, of course, right, means when a presidential candidate wins each state, right? Well, certain states are going to have more points or more votes in the electoral college. So, of course, places like Texas or California will count for more winning that state than winning a smaller population state like North Dakota or New Mexico. And you can kind of see that at least mocked up here